Hi, I'm Lisa Chrisman, and we're at the West End Branch Library. This is day 46, the Great American Reads Richmond Public Libraries project to go through all 100 books in 100 days. My book is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak, and this is a story that's set in World War II in Germany, and it involves a young girl and her neighbor and her foster parents and a Jew who's hidden in their basement, and the narrator is Death. As the title implies, this young girl, Liesel, loves books. Her foster mother is a laundress, and so Liesel helps by picking up laundry at houses in the city, and the mayor is one of their clients, and the mayor's wife one day lets Liesel into her home. A few weeks passed, soccer on Himmel Street, reading The Shoulder Shrug between 2 and 3 o'clock each morning, post-nightmare, or during the afternoon in the basement. Another benign visit to the mayor's house. All was lovely until when Liesel next visited, minus Rudy, the opportunity presented itself. It was a pickup day. The mayor's wife opened the door, and she was not holding the bag like she normally would. Instead, she stepped aside and motioned with her chalky hand and wrist for the girl to enter. "I'm just waiting here for the washing." Liesel's blood had dried inside of her. It crumbled. She almost broke into pieces on the steps. The woman said her first word to her then. She reached out cold fingers and said, "Warte, wait." When she was sure the girl had steadied, she turned and walked hastily back inside. "Thank God," Lisa exhaled. "She's getting it." It being the washing. What the woman returned with, however, was nothing of the sort. When she came and stood with an impossibly frail steadfastness, she was holding a tower of books against her stomach, from her navel to the beginnings of her breasts. She looked so vulnerable in the monstrous doorway. Long, light eyelashes and just the slightest twinge of an expression, a suggestion. "Come and see," it said. "She's going to torture me," Liesel decided. "She's going to take me inside, light the fireplace, and throw me in, books and all, or she'll lock me in the basement without any food." For some reason, though, most likely the lure of the books, she found herself walking in. The squeaking of her shoes on the wooden floorboards made her cringe, and when she hit a sore spot, inducing the wood to groan, she almost stopped. The mayor's wife was not deterred. She only looked briefly behind and continued on to a chestnut-colored door. Now her face asked a question. "Are you ready?" Liesel craned her neck a little as if she might see over the door that stood in her way, and clearly that was the cue to open it. "Jesus Mary!" She said it out loud, the words distributed into a room that was full of cold air and books. Books everywhere. Each wall was armed with overcrowded yet immaculate shelving. It was barely possible to see the paintwork. There were all different styles and sizes of lettering on the spines of the black, the red, the gray, the every-colored books. It was one of the most beautiful things Liesel Memminger had ever seen. She wondered, she smiled. Such a room existed. Even when she tried to wipe the smile away with her forearm, she realized instantly that it was a pointless exercise. She could feel the eyes of the woman traveling her body, and when she looked at her, they had rested on her face. There was more silence than she ever thought possible. It extended like an elastic dying to break. The girl broke it. "Can I?" The two words stood among acres and acres of vacant, wooden-floored land. The books were miles away. The woman nodded. "Yes, you can." Steadily the room shrank till the book thief could touch the shelves with a few small steps. She ran the back of her hand along the first shelf, listening to the shuffle of her fingernails gliding across the spinal cord of each book. It sounded like an instrument, or the notes of running feet. She used both hands. She raced them, one shelf against the other. She laughed. Her voice was sprawled out high in her throat, and when she eventually stopped and stood in the middle of the room, she spent many minutes looking from the shelves to her fingers and back again. How many books had she touched? How many had she felt? as she walked over and did it again, this time much slower, with her hand facing forward, allowing the dough of her palm to feel the small hurdle of each book. It felt like magic, like beauty, as bright lines of light shone down from a chandelier. Several times she almost pulled the title from its place, but she didn't dare disturb them. They were too perfect. To her left, she saw the woman again, standing by a large desk, still holding the small tower against her torso. She stood with a delighted crookedness. A smile appeared to have paralyzed her lips. "Do you want me to?" Liesel didn't finish the question, but actually performed what she was going to ask, walking over and taking the books gently from the woman's arms. She then placed them into the missing piece in the shelf by the slightly open window. The outside cold was streaming in. For a moment she considered closing it, but thought better of it. This was not her house, and the situation was not to be tampered with. Instead, she returned to the lady behind her, whose smile gave the appearance now of a bruise, and whose arms were hanging slenderly at each side, like a girl's arms. What now? An awkwardness treated itself to the room, and Liesel took a final, fleeting glance at the walls of books. In her mouth, the words fidgeted, but they came out in a rush. "I should go." It took 3 attempts to leave. She waited in the hallway for a few minutes, but the woman didn't come, and Liesel turned to the entrance of the room. She saw her sitting at the desk, staring blankly at one of the books. She chose not to disturb her. In the hallway, she picked up the washing. This time, she avoided the sore spot in the floorboards, walking the long length of the corridor, favoring the left-hand wall, and when she closed the door behind her, a brass clank sounded in her ear, and with the washing next to her, she stroked the flesh of the wood. "Get going," she said. All 100 books are available at your local library, and we'll be reading a different one each day until we reach the end of the list. Thank you.